righty, here we go. Good evening and welcome to the November 10th, 2020 meeting of the Pequannock Town Council. Ms. Marsh.
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy. Information on remote access to the meeting was sent via email to the Suburban Trends, Daily Record, and Record newspapers, posted on the bulletin board, front door, and accessible entrance of the municipal building and on the Township's website.
Thank you. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to your republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, before I start the prayer, after the prayer, if you can remain standing for a moment of silence for Mayor Dunleavy from Bloomingdale, who was a full-time mayor for the last 10 years. And he was on council before that. He was served for a long time. And Pequannock was involved with the shared services agreements with him, with the health services and the fire official for Bloomingdale. It's a great loss to Bloomingdale and to our community and the surrounding communities as well. So thank you for that. Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that, Melissa. Okay, Ms. Marsh, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr.
Here.
Phelan? Mrs. Russell?
I'm
Mayor
here.
Hurd.
Thank you.
Your quorum.
For anyone who hasn't participated in one of our remote meetings, I'm going to ask Mr. Brewer to review the format of the meeting. Mr. Brewer.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. As this meeting is being held remotely due to the ongoing pandemic, the public is invited to participate throughout the meeting at the appropriate times identified on the agenda, or should the mayor and council decide to open it for public discussion. Should anyone at the appropriate time wish to participate, I ask that you raise your hand or indicate that you have an interest in participating in the chat function. If there are any questions, obviously the mayor and the council can address them at the appropriate time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. All right, moving on. So there are no presentations. At this time, if there are any reports or comments from any of the volunteers serving our community, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Mr. Brewer.
Mayor, there are no hands raised.
All right, well, thank you. Next on the agenda is public comments. Public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period for public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please raise your hand, wait to be recognized, and provide your name and address for the record. Mr. Brewer.
Mayor, there are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you, sir. Moving on. Next on the agenda is manager's report. Mr. Burr.
Thank you, sir. I've got a 40-minute report to make up for no comment thus far.
Excellent.
Within the manager's report, there are a few items just to report on that pertain to the meeting and one that's more general. Ordinance for the council's consideration a little later this evening that pertains to the solid waste utility rates. As you recall, there was a substantive discussion in August about the options that came in for the vegetative waste, solid waste, and recycling collection services. Direction was given at that meeting. Contracts were awarded. The proposed rates are consistent with the analysis that was presented at that August 11th meeting. For the benefit of everybody's understanding, twice a week garbage was maintained, once a week vegetative waste was maintained, and a decision was made to move from single stream recycling, to dual stream recycling, with the goal to mitigate the ever increasing costs associated with these services.
Adam, can I interrupt you for 2 seconds? I just
Sure.
want to say, I thought you did a great job in getting the word out about that. I think everybody knew what they were doing, and the mailings were great, and I just want to thank you because that was a really great job getting the word out.
Oh, thank you very much. And credit to the staff that was involved. Dave Seidling did about 18 versions of that flyer, and we really tried to get that out. So Councilwoman, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I agree,
Based on
but
the number of questions we got, we know people received the letter.
can I ask, maybe you can reach out to them, Adam? I mean, it seems like if I was a guessing man, I would think that there's the same crew that's picking up the garbage early in the morning, they're dumping, and then they're coming back and getting the recycling. Because recycling, I think my recycling was picked up at 5 o'clock tonight. I mean, to me, that's kind of late. I'm just wondering, why recycling is being picked up so late in the area now.
I've had some conversations with one of the managers at GATA, and I think it's a transitional issue partly. So I'll talk to him about the operations. We can't dictate, as long as they operate within contract, we don't really control it. But there were some questions about that, and I'm hoping that they can scale it back. But I will follow up on it.
Thank you.
There is a resolution for the council's consideration this evening because the 5-town dial-a-ride that has existed for decades, there's a 5-year agreement that exists with the 5 communities that concludes at the end of this year. That was sent out to the other partners in providing the service, and some of them have started executing it, so that's scheduled for the council's consideration. It's an example of a shared service that I think dates back to the early 80s in Pequannock Township, before shared service was even a buzzword. So it's a nice thing to be a leader in that. There is a massive document in the council's packet and posted online that represents the New Jersey Department of Transportation's agreement because of the improvements to Route 23 from Alexander Avenue north into Kinnelon. They have to move 2 fire hydrants. So there's about a 40-page document that's included in your packet for the council's consideration of authorization this evening. Traffic control at Hopper and the Boulevard is scheduled for discussion, so I'll leave further comment about that until later in the meeting. And then lastly, the Pequannock Township Recycling app. For anyone that has an opportunity, if you're interested, if you go to wherever you get your app, along with the transition in recycling, there was a decision made to create an app and provide something called the Waste Wizard. So if people have any questions, whether it's the Apple iStore or the Google Store, you can download it. It opens up, you can enter in a material and it'll tell you how to dispose of or recycle that material. If it doesn't know, you can say, figure it out, and then we can update the database and provide that information for residents. It also includes the schedule for collection. So if you look out your window and you're not sure what it is and you have the app on your phone, you can just check your phone, as well as flyers about events and other information for residents. So it's a great thing. It's going to be helpful for us. It wasn't a significant cost. I'm familiar with it from other municipalities. And again, credit for the staff for deploying that and rolling it out.
And you get reminders the night before what garbage and what recycling needs to go out.
Right. So Adam, I'm being asked by somebody in the audience, is that app up and running?
It is.
Okay.
Just search Pequannock.
All right.
I will let them know.
With the Waste Wizard. Okay.
And that concludes my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And that was very interesting with the Waste Wizard. Excellent. Everybody should go and download it right now. All right, moving on. There are no public hearings. So next on the agenda is ordinances for introduction. Ms. Marsh. Sound, Ms. Marsh.
I even tied a string around my finger.
Yep.
So for the council's consideration is ordinance number 2020-11, an ordinance to amend chapter 124 entitled Solid Waste Utility of the Code of the Township of Pequannock.
Thank you. Mr. Brewer, are there any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. As mentioned during my report, the decisions made to award the contracts required the increase of the rates to support the new contracts. Had we maintained everything the same, the cost would have been 180, 200% more, but decisions were made to try to mitigate that. However, that said, it is a 5-year contract.
Okay, thank you. Council, are there any questions? No, seeing none, we did go over everything. All right, is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on the first reading?
I'll make that
Make a motion
motion.
to introduce ordinance number 2020-11.
She just totally ran over you there, Rich.
Go ahead, Rich.
Can I get a second? Oh, nobody wants to give me a second?
Come on, Rich, go.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Marsh, roll call.
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mayor Hurd.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is resolutions. Ms. Marsh, this is a big one.
I know, we could just do this on a consent agenda. You would not have to listen to me for 5 minutes. Beginning with resolution R 2020-217, authorizing the execution of a municipal and utility engineering and construction agreement between the Township of Pequannock and the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the Route 23 Alexander Road to Maple Lake Road Improvement Project. 2020-218, authorizing the transfer of 2020 municipal budget appropriations. 219, authorizing cancellation of outstanding checks. 220, authorizing the cancellation of the reserve for police programs in the current fund. R 2020-221, authorizing the cancellation of the reserve for future recreation programs in the recreation utility. 2020-222, authorizing a cooperative agreement to provide transportation services for senior and disabled residents through the Dial-A-Ride program. 2020-223, authorizing the acceptance of a hold harmless agreement from Brian Villey and Jennifer Griffo for block 3906 lot 22, which is also known as 3 Daria Court. 2020-224, establishing the date of the 2021 reorganization meeting. 225, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. 226, authorizing release of designated escrow deposits. And R 2020-227, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the November 5th, 2020 bill list and 2015 FEMA elevation escrow list.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Are there any comments on the resolutions from council?
None at all.
Adam, I do have one question on R 2020-217. I presume that's just a boilerplate, so anything that we need to do in cooperation with what they're doing, the improvements on 23?
Correct. It's one of their boilerplate agreements. It's been thoroughly reviewed by the utilities staff. Their contractor will be relocating to fire hydrants as a result of the installation of guardrail.
Okay. That's all my questions. Is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I think they call it guide rail now. You know,
I'll
I
make
agree.
that motion to adopt resolution 217 through 227.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mayor Hurd.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is items for discussion, which is intersection of Hopper and Boulevard. Mr. Brewer.
So let me just shuffle a couple of papers. As the public and the council are, I'm sure, aware, up until 2016, there was a blinking light at the intersection of the Boulevard and Hopper Avenue. As a result of a traffic accident that occurred during that year, part of the light was affected, and then I think people looked at the light and kind of said, how did this get here? Because the light was strung between utility poles, which is not something that is common, I'll say it that way. So the light was never replaced. There was conversation about it, which predated my tenure in the Township of Pequannock. But we had some transitions in engineers and some questions about it and some discussion recently in 2020 during the budget portion. And I'd never had the opportunity to discuss this with council to review the options or have staff present the options, excuse me. So within the council's packet is a memo from me that includes a memo from the township engineer as well as the traffic bureau of the police department, which articulates that, you know, the possibility from a signalized intersection all the way back to simply mitigating the vegetation that's around the intersection to increase sight distance, and a number of options exist in between those things. The ability or the interest in increasing sight distance, that's going to happen automatically. We're underway with that with the homeowners, and if they don't want to remove the vegetation, the Department of Public Works can and will. My question for the council as a whole is, where does the council want to go in terms of other traffic calming or traffic control approaches? The signalized intersection would have to be a partnership with the County of Morris, as it's a county road. The boulevard is a county road. So the costs there are roughly $300,000, $150 to the township, $150 to the county. But there are other options. During the budget discussion, the concept was raised of having the stop signs that have the flashing lights. We could also explore additional painting and striping, which is minimal in cost. So really, my goal tonight was to check in with the council to see where the desire was, where to go.
So Adam, what makes that intersection different than other intersections?
That was going to be my question.
All intersections involve at least two roads, right? So it's an intersection that there was some accident history that generated discussion at the council earlier this year, and I wanted to get the facts and circle back. So I think the simple answer, Councilman, to your question is nothing. But the reason I bring it up for discussion today was because it was the subject of discussion earlier this year.
So cutting back the vegetation would help tremendously, but to spend $150,000 on that intersection is crazy. We have a lot of other intersections in town.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree with Rich. I like the idea of the blinking stop signs, as long as it doesn't bother the surrounding homes.
I agree with Kyle, and I definitely agree with Rich. I think maybe what we should try first is maybe that rumble strip before, letting people know that there is a stop sign coming. If we need to do that, I mean, I don't know. I'm concerned about the blinking stop sign 24 hours a day. I mean, can they be turned off at a certain time?
It kind of defeats late at night, maybe, but it defeats the purpose to turn them off.
Right.
They're there to be flashing in the first place. They're there to be flashing in the first place. The one thing I would ask for the council's permission is if the decision is to proceed with potentially installing those, I would want to send a letter to the resident that was the interest, and to have either an informal meeting with them over Zoom, or at least speak with them to go over it, because there is a frequency, through talking to my colleagues about these, there's a frequency where they're installed. People don't realize exactly how light they are. And then a month later they come back and say, we thought this was going to be a good solution, but I got a strobe light when I'm trying to watch television.
Yeah.
So Adam, why don't we cut back the vegetation, maybe put rumble strips in and see how that goes, and then readdress this later on?
That was going to be what I recommend. I mean, it doesn't cost a lot of money to do that. To cut back the vegetation, we would do that anyway. Rumble strips, we'd probably do that anyway, even if we do a light or whatever, I assume. And then I like the idea. So the only problem with the traffic light, I got a little concerned when I read the report, and the police say that there have been accidents there, but I don't know that there have been more accidents there than other intersections that don't have traffic lights. And if you have, a traffic light so many times on the boulevard, you feel like you're in, it's like a stop and go thing. So I'm not sure that we really need the traffic light. I'm okay with the stop sign lights, but yeah, I'm concerned about the brightness, and maybe we can try the other stuff first. That would be my recommendation. And then, like you said, you'd have to let the residents know, notify them. So if there's an issue, they can come speak up.
Right.
Let's start with the traffic calming and the cutbacks, and then readdress this later on.
I agree.
People are not going to be happy with that flashing stop.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
And the one house has been for sale now for over a year.
That's not going to help.
That's not going to help, is right. So
Yeah, and just to put a lens on the police department's recommendation and the engineer's recommendation, if you ask the police department and the engineer how to solve the problem, they're going to say put in a traffic light, because that no ifs, ands, or buts solves the problem. That said, that may not be the solution that we want, and I appreciate it, if I understand the council's direction, just to restate it, cut back the vegetation, explore the rumble strips, paint, and then we can progressively go from there. Because I don't know if there's really been a change in the accident frequency since the light was removed. I don't know if the light really had that impact. I don't have that data available. But when the engineers reviewed the pattern of traffic accidents, the warrants for a potential signalized intersection they thought could be met. And just to, again, explain that. So anytime a traffic control device, not a traffic calming device, so a stop sign or a signal is installed, it has to be as the result of a traffic study and meet certain warrants established by the Department of Transportation. It's not an arbitrary decision.
Right. And that was my only concern. Was it a strong recommendation from the police department, or was it just, hey, this is how you solve a problem? Which it sounds like you're saying it's not like they're making that strong recommendation because of accidents.
Correct.
So Adam, so I would go back and say, okay, how many accidents have we had at other intersections on the boulevard?
Just to make sure.
You can't just zero in on one, you have to zero in on all of them.
Right. So first, cut back vegetation, look into rumble strips, and then is there any kind of data that we have? Because I mean, that road is no different than Tilly or 5 others that we can, you know.
West Parkway.
Right.
North Pompton Turnpike. There's based upon the layout of the township. Yeah, there's a lot of those intersections.
And that's why we just want to make sure we're doing the right thing for safety and pedestrian traffic and whatnot. So, you know, if it's no worse than other intersections, then I agree that we should start slow and build up. But if those numbers are out of whack, then we're going to have to revisit it.
I think people miss the old time flashing light there.
Yeah, I remember our old town manager, Dave, used to say it was more like a landmark for many.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I appreciate your indulgence. It was a conversation that I never formally had with the council, so thank you for the direction.
Yeah, we can even put, you know, a sign 50 feet down the road, stop ahead. You know,
Yeah,
Right.
that would be good
before
too.
we spend $150,000 on a traffic light.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam. Moving on, there are no reports and notices. So now council reports and announcements. Councilwoman Florence Lynch.
Okay, just a couple of things. Something I meant to bring up before, I'll just clarify now. Adam, on the garbage, the solid waste contract, I do see in there about the senior citizens, and for those that qualify, they just like they receive a property tax deduction, they're eligible for a reduced fee for the collection. Is that an automatic? Do the seniors know that, or is that something they have to seek out themselves?
They have to request it, and it's something that exists in the current ordinance, so it's just being carried forward in the new ordinance.
Right. So most seniors
They
would
do
be
have to
aware
ask.
of that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that was the one. Okay. Also, you were talking about the app before. Don't forget the flood app too. There's a flood app out there that can be, I guess that one's called Flood Watch, right? The Flood Watch app. So that's another one that residents can download. I also wanted to mention, you notice all the fire hydrants that got painted by the Eagle Scouts around town. Looks tremendous. I think they're doing a great job. I know they really took on a task there. How many fire hydrants are there in town that they're painting?
There are, I think, upwards of 6,000 in the entire community.
Yeah.
Several hundred are going to be painted by a group of scouts.
Okay.
625 or so.
Is that how many they're doing?
2070, yeah, there was a ton.
A lot.
Took them
Yeah,
a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so they're doing a great job. They were at my friend of my house the other day. My fire hydrant's almost all the way up to the front door. So I look out the window and was wondering what everybody was doing.
Mine was painted too, Melissa. It looks great.
Yeah, it looks real good. The Economic Development Committee, they met. I have their notes here. Let me see if there's anything to report. A couple of weeks ago, or a couple of meetings ago, might have even been last meeting, I talked about that the Economic committee was looking at doing a gingerbread walk this year. Unfortunately, due to the COVID and the timing, they're going to have to postpone it. They started, researching it a little bit, thinking they could do it, but that's going to be postponed and looked at next year. Also, I brought up the beautification committee suggestion last time. Economic development, they're going to just keep seeking out some ideas themselves. No need to have another separate committee as we discussed last time. But they're going to, try to make some recommendations and do some things with the shop owners along the turnpike. Let's see what else. Other than that, there was a question that came up about the status of the master plan ordinances. If I'm not mistaken, Adam, one of the reasons we haven't done anything yet, number one, because of COVID and stuff, but wasn't there a lot of coding that needed to be done or something before we could start down the path of the ordinances? Am I correct in that?
The ordinances are 90+% at this point, which
Right.
is a massive undertaking. But we wanted to get the township code
Right.
modification process concluded and then proceed with that because it's a comprehensive revision. So we don't want to revise while we're in the same process of adoption.
Right. So that's something we'll probably start doing early next year.
Correct. But the work is still on track. We're
Right.
just trying to make sure everything is scheduled appropriately.
Okay. And the last thing I was going to say is we had a couple of ribbon cuttings, if I didn't mention them last time. Or maybe I did. I wasn't sure if I mentioned it at the last meeting, but a couple of ribbon cuttings. As we know, the Gulf Station looks great. There was a ribbon cutting over at Pizza 23 and then the hair salon on Route 23. I think there's a couple of other ones coming up. I don't know, Ryan, let me ask you, have you gotten any reach outs on a couple of other ribbon cuttings?
We're just waiting for them to respond of what the good date is. I think we've got 2 salons right on Turnpike, and we've got
Dog grooming? Was dog grooming one?
there's a dog grooming, and there's also the person with the material like fabric
Upholstery, yeah,
upholstery.
upholstery store. So, I mean, it's looking really good. A lot of stores are coming in, into town and opening up, and let's just keep supporting our businesses.
Absolutely.
So, I'm glad to see all that going on. Our flood committee is meeting Thursday night at 7:30. So I have nothing new to report there yet. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Cole?
All right, I got a few things. There is a food packaging event this Saturday for Grains of Hope at Lincoln Park PAL from 9:30 to 12 and 1 to 3. They are looking for volunteers. If anyone is interested, you can reach out to, or you can go on the Grains of Hope Facebook page and register there. Again, this Saturday at Lincoln Park PAL from 9:30 to 12 and 1 to 3. All of the food packaged will stay in New Jersey at that event, but they are looking for volunteers. Also, I just want to remind everyone that the tree lighting ceremony will take place on November 29th at 6 p.m. The construction that went on in front of Town Hall looks great. Looks like it's ready for the tree to go up. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Just a few things about that. From 4:30 to 5, there'll be an ice carver there. You'll need to register for the event. And I believe that's going to be through the Grains of Hope page. More to come on that. All the trees out in front of Town Hall will be lit. You might notice that one of them is lit. They put some lights on it just to see what color lights look best. And so there'll be twice as many lights that are on it now. So that's happening. Colby Douglas will be turning the switch to turn on the light, to turn on the tree this year. There will be a drone there. It's going to be live streamed on our Pequannock page, according to what Doug Cook told me. They are recommending that you live stream it, as many people as can, because there are going to be COVID restrictions. For the first aid squad, Tom Lyons sent me an update. Said that both currently Atlantic Health and St. Clair's are reporting increases in COVID patients. The first aid squad has also seen an increase in the volume of calls from 52 last month to 72 calls during, from 52 calls during the month of September to 72 calls last month in October. And the increase that they've said that were documented were mostly sick, unconscious, and breathing problem patients. The first aid squad will be getting a donation of a case of hand sanitizer, being that they belong to the Morris County EMS Alliance. Anyone that belongs to that Morris County EMS Alliance will be getting a case of hand sanitizer from a Morris County donor. Let's see, did I touch base on everything? I think I did. There were a lot more events planned for the tree lighting, but they've cut back, this year because of COVID. So they're looking to really increase the number of activities for next year for the tree lighting. So I can't wait to see the tree up. Looking forward to it. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Phelan?
I don't have much other than to say that DPW is doing a great job picking up the leaves in town. I know that's a difficult job, but they always seem to do the right thing, especially this year since of all the problems.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll pass it along.
Deputy Mayor Russell?
I don't have a lot. I want to reiterate what Rich said. Great job by the DPW. Excited to see the tree lighting coming. Hopefully everybody will be there. Remind everybody that, we still have to social distance. I think our township's doing a really great job. Our police department, our DPW, our municipal employees, and just keep up the good work.
Okay, thank you. While we were talking, I did download the Pequannock app, and all I did was Google Pequannock or in the App Store on an iPhone. Pretty interesting. It comes like this. That's the first screen of it. So it is very easy. It takes 10 seconds to download. So that'd be great. November 29th, 6 p.m. for the tree lighting. I am excited for that. But before that, tomorrow we have Veterans Day, 11 a.m. We're going to have a ceremony at the First Reformed Church. It will be live streamed as well. Again, reiterating the Boy Scouts painting all the fire hydrants red. You can definitely see them now. They look nice and clean and classy, actually. I like them a lot. So great job, Boy Scouts. I had an open space committee. We spoke about Aquatic Park. We also spoke about a couple of properties that they would like to acquire. So we were talking about those kind of things. And that is all I have for now. So moving right along.
Ryan,
Yes.
Did we get an invite to that veteran ceremony?
Yes, we did. Lou did. Did you get a call from Lou?
I didn't get anything.
There's
No, I
Lou
didn't
calling
either.
right now.
I didn't get anything either.
We didn't get
Yeah.
anything.
I didn't get anything.
I saw an email, and I also I got a phone call from Lou. I'll double check the email, see if everybody's on it, but I'm sure.
Well,
If
none of
we're
us
not
got
on
it.
just- we didn't get it, so forward it.
All right, I'll forward it. But it is tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Unfortunately, I can't make it because I'm not going to be around at that time. But it is 11 a.m. at the First Reformed Church. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized and provide your name and address for the record. Mr. Brewer.
Mr. Mayor, we have a hand raised.
Come on down.
So hello, can you hear me?
Yes, how are you?
Okay, here's Peter Schmidt, 16 Ronan Drive.
Hi, Peter. How are you doing?
Peter.
I'm fine as usual.
Peter.
Listening, I just want to say hello and listening to your discussion about the crossing in Boulevard and Hopper. I would float the idea of the traffic experts presenting to you where are the dangerous locations in Pequannock and how dangerous are they, and should you do something about it and set the priorities correct.
Great.
Yep,
Great
that's
idea.
okay. That's all I have.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. My pleasure. No,
And Adam, did we, I believe we did a traffic study in the last couple of years. I'm not sure if that was, I'm presuming it was before your time. If we have any information on that, that'd be great to send out to council.
I know there was some specific review done on the south end of the turnpike with respect to the traffic calming things. I don't know if there was a town-wide study. That would be a whole different undertaking. But I think, consistent with Mr. Schmidt's comments, the approach of identifying which intersections may be troubling and then prioritizing and working down the list is a good thought.
Yeah. Dave, do you remember if there was a town-wide traffic? They looked at it. I'm sorry. Mr. Cole, Councilman Cole.
Or
Rich.
I remember down by, the Ritas and the Jersey Johnnies.
Yeah.
There was a traffic study done by the county, but other than that, I don't remember. But I also want to just let Adam know there is a one in Q&A. So I don't know if someone typed in a question. Did you see that?
Yeah, there was during the discussion item, there was a comment or a question posed, but we got to, in order to manage the meeting during public participation, people are welcome to join. Do my best to address the question just in my comments.
So my comment is, again, we're zeroing in on Hopper, but there are other intersections that are just as dangerous in town.
Well, I think that's why Adam's going to get some statistics, right?
Yeah, and I consistent with Mr. Schmidt's comment, I think it's an appropriate approach to look at the town as a whole and identify, PD and engineering without undertaking significant expense or time, probably have some good institutional knowledge on areas that need to be addressed and put some data together.
I would also imagine that if there was a dangerous intersection, the police department would bring it to our attention.
Right.
Correct. If there was
I also
something
think-
critical, it would have been brought to our attention.
We really can't go by what's going on now, because I think a lot of the problems were the kids leaving the high school and nobody's driving. Nobody's at the
Less
high school,
traffic.
really. So.
Traffic patterns are definitely different.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you. Next, is there anybody else before I move on?
There are no other hands raised, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Make sure everybody gets a chance. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes, September 22nd, 2020 and October 13th, 2020. Are there any comments from council?
No.
No, but I'll make the motion to approve both those meetings.
And I'll second
Jumped
it.
on it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. Next on the agenda is closed session discussion. It's not Mr. Uzdike. David, will you please explain the procedure for holding the closed session?
I'll be happy to. Ladies and gentlemen, a closed session is that part of a public meeting from which the public is excluded as permitted by law to allow the council to discuss a confidential matter, in this case, a personnel matter. Following the closed session, no formal action other than adjournment will be taken by the council. So it is at this point that we say goodnight and ask all members of the public who are on the line with us to please hang up, tap out, or otherwise end their connection to this virtual meeting. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Rudenberg.
So Dave, you do such a great job at that.
He sounds like a professional announcer. That's beautiful. All right, is there a motion to approve resolution R 2020-228, authorizing the township
I'll make that
council
motion.
to meet in
Second.
executive session to discuss personnel? I think we're good. Waiting on you, Mr. Brewer.
May just want to get an all in favor there, Mr.
All in
Mayor.
favor?
Oh, can I get an all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. As I was reading it.
All right. there's one. My recording is started.
We ready? Excellent. We are back in public sessions. Mr. Rutenberg.
During our closed session discussion, there was a discussion of the court administrator's position, and in particular, the appropriate classification for that position. Accordingly, the council will take future action addressing the classification, and based upon that changed classification, the salary for the position.
Thank you, sir. There being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
I'll make that
Dave.
motion.
Can I get a
I'll
second?
second. I'll second.
Opposed? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at
Hey,
7:44.
quick meeting for you, Dave.
Good night, everyone.
Good day.
I always
Good
pick
day.
the quick one.
You always take Pequannock. They're nice and easy.